Instagram to kick on, and then we'll rock and roll here. 1 second. Come on, old girl. Let's go. Give it to me now. Streaming. It looks like we're on all platforms. Good, go. Let's go. All right. Good to go. All right, we're back and live with Hunter. How do you say your last name? Farrior?
Farrior, yep.
Dang, Steve, I got a good one there. I got it good that time. I didn't mess this one up. I guess we're on a
Surprised
good
you even
start.
tried.
Yeah, I know. Hunter, thanks for joining us, man. We really appreciate you taking the time. I know it's busy. I know it's not turkey season, but at least it's something, you know?
Yeah, it's close enough, I guess. I don't think it really stops in my mind, and especially not on in this office. I feel like it's turkey season, 365 days a year. But no, I appreciate y'all having me on. So I'm at a good time because it's about to get nothing.
I know it's, deer season's over and it's not quite turkey season yet, but there's no better time than to talk about and kind of get people kind of jacked up about killing wild turkey.
Man, I'm always jacked up about it, so I'm ready.
I couldn't tell from behind you that you like turkey hunting.
Yeah, I bought these at a pawn shop a couple of years ago, and I figured it was pretty.
Yeah. Well, let's kick this thing right into four-wheel drive. Why don't you tell everybody who you are, where you're from, and a little bit about what you do, my friend?
Cool. Yeah, name's Hunter Farrior, and I'm the founder of Spring Legion, which is a turkey hunting brand through and through, founded on the kind of the principles of old school turkey hunting, um, next to religion almost, and kind of where I grew up, and just kind of exemplified that. I wanted to put that into a tangible item, such a philosophy, and was able to do that through apparel and stuff back in 2019. And it has since grown into a lot of just various avenues of turkey hunting stuff, just to really hone in on turkey hunting culture and the importance in retaining that heritage. And through now we're doing gear now, from jackets to pants to gaiters to hats, masks, gloves, you name it. And then on the media side as well, podcast and YouTube. So it's opened up some cool doors. Written 2 books about turkeys, both of which are become Amazon bestsellers, and we'll be releasing a combination of those copies at the National Wild Turkey Federation Convention and Sports Show this year. So, getting the news on that. So, 90 to nothing all the time.
Yeah, I get it, man, and it's funny is like turkey hunting. You brought up a good point. Like there's a lifestyle to it, and like
Mm-hmm.
turkey hunting in itself is there's like a different breed when it comes to turkey hunters because when you fall into this warp of turkey hunting, you become a whole different another man. Like it's totally different type of hunting.
If I could go back 25 years and not get hooked, I might do that some days. I think. I don't necessarily wish it upon anybody, because there are just as many days where I'm like cussing myself for even doing this. Why did my dad introduce me to such a cult? But when it sets its hook, it's pretty deep, and it's hard to get out of. And there's a few defining moments that I think everybody will go through and understand eventually if you hunt them long enough, that kind of you don't come out of. This is for the rest of your life. You're labeled as it, and there's a difference. You kind of hit on it. I mean, I'm a firm believer, and it rubs some people the wrong way, that there's a big difference in turkey hunters and people who also hunt turkeys in the springtime. And especially, I grew up in Mississippi, and it's a very rich culture down here. Not in monetary terms, very obviously, but in the aspect of seriousness, that it's kind of given to those labels of turkey hunters, quote unquote. There, to be one, you gotta walk a certain way, you gotta look a certain way, you gotta talk a certain way. Almost, it seems there's just a standard there that you kind of uphold yourself to. Just kind of, like anything with certain baseball teams and football teams, you can look at somebody and they don't have beards on this team. They have to cut their hair a certain way. It's just very almost a strict ordinance that kind of follows that culture down here, and I'm about it, and I think it's really cool, and I think it's something different in the outdoors. Turkey hunter is definitely different.
Steve, you didn't do no research. We didn't know he was from Mississippi. We can't have no Mississippi turkey hunters on this podcast. That's not allowed.
Ooh.
Well, yeah, that's why I said I bought these. I don't turkey that much.
Yeah.
I'm curious though, like fits that niche? Like when you think of like a Mississippi turkey hunter, if you want to walk like one and talk like one and look like one, like describe that.
Very haggard, probably.
I'm thinking overalls for some reason. Like you got to wear overalls.
See, I used to think the same, um, because that was a thing a while back, and I really I connected that overall people who wore overalls probably killed turkeys. Because my dad had a pair of overalls, then he just stopped wearing them. I'm like, well, I guess it wasn't overalls. Yeah, so I mean, I was just wearing these really baggy overalls for no reason apparently. But yeah, that could be something, and it has to do with a lot of things. Like I mean, and some of it's just personal. I guess little intricacies that I've noticed, and I've just made my own rules in my head. But a lot of them would be like, I mean, you wear lacrosse granges hunting turkeys. I mean, you don't. I used to think, and I still think for the longest time, and I've had to adapt my learnings to this. Like anyone who hunts turkeys with just flopping pants legs, I guess. There's no way I could take that guy serious. And then like I'd go like hang out with like Doc Weddle or somebody like that who's an avid turkey hunter, who's written 50 books on the subject. He's killed one in every state 9 times, I think. And I just see him walk up with like a pair of tennis shoes and some faded pants on. I'm like, well, I got to change that theory. You know, so there's a few like that. But dude, I mean, it's hard to explain. You walk in a gas station, you can tell who's there, who's headed to work, who's a deer hunter who just got a new like turkey vest and wanted to try it out, and then who's a bona fide turkey hunter. Just the most haggard. Just you almost have to meet them in person to tell, because it's like a look in their eye, like a lot of bloodshot and a lot of just emotions. Very they're not. They can be quick to take offense. They're defensive to the extreme. They defend themselves, and sometimes they don't even have to. And they're very everything's taken with a grain of salt. So I'm not gonna say don't trust one, but at the same time, like there's certain questions you don't ask somebody who's going through a stint. You know,
You can ask them, but they ain't gonna tell you the truth.
oh, yeah. And then to the extent, like sometimes, like even asking them if they've heard a gobble is kind of like, I mean, I've been around folks. I wasn't the one who asked it, but you know, somebody who wasn't quite as familiar, might have been from a different region or something, would ask them, you know, like how many turkeys you kill. I'm looked at them like, you don't ask somebody that in a public place, kind of, you know, like, and they just kind of looked at him, and I was looking at him like he didn't know. Like, don't get mad at him. It's just like broke a rule right there.
Yeah.
It's just it's strange. There's no book on it. There's just things you pick up on and things you learn to do and not to do, and some stuff you only do once, and you know, some stuff you can kind of get away with.
It's kind of funny is like an avid turkey hunter. It's one of those things like them boys that gone off to war and really fought a good fought. You know what I'm saying? And they don't talk about it, and
Yes.
you don't hear about it. They don't, he's not the guy in the bar room that's talking about how many times he went overseas. That's
Right.
not a killer. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's the same in a turkey hunter. Like that boy, he ain't gonna talk about it. But let me tell you something. You make a gobble noise in the corner of the room, and that boy's his head's gonna turn some type of way.
break his neck.
He's gonna drop down and start strutting like he ain't never seen nothing.
Exactly. Which I mean, I've read a whole chapter to find turkey hunters in the second book, and it goes through the demographics of it, and really more so, it's described better in the first book, the first chapter of the first book, just to establish what I'm talking about, I guess, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And it has a lot to do with that. Is they measure beard and spurs to the nearest whole number. They couldn't tell you where the 3/8 notch is located on a measuring tape if you gave them adequate time for breaking it down into halves of halves. I mean, they just, they don't care about that. They just care about killing a turkey and one more turkey, and understand. And they've almost accepted the fact that that's what they are. And that's just,
Mm-hmm.
that's what they're always going to be, is a turkey hunter who has a rifle, or a turkey hunter with a pair of fishing poles in his garage. It's a solemn gap between springs almost. You're almost relieved for it to leave. And then by day 6 of May, you're kind of like, which it ends May 1st down here. You're kind of, what now? That's you lose yourself. Like, what am I anymore? I'm
Mm-hmm.
always, but but it's cool. It's a culture for sure. And down here, I mean, it's fight you over stuff a little more probably. I find it a lot of other places where it's. I'm not gonna say less enjoyable down here by all means. I mean, it's I would rather hunt here than anywhere, but folks take it serious down here. I've had folks, come hunt with me and stuff, and they're like, "Why are you breaking out a blindfold?" And I'm just like, "What do you mean? Why I'm like, why can't I sit in the front of the truck? Like, where are you from?" Well, of course you can't sit in the front. I'm just kidding, but no, I have had some friends have the tires cut because they parked in front of a gate. I told them not to park in front of, and I'm like, "You think it's all you're right until it ain't," kind of deal. Like, you hide your license plate if you're from out of state, kind of stuff. I mean, it's just a different culture, and it's just stuff that you're safe on this side of the street, not on this side of the street. But some of that is exaggerative, but some of it ain't.
Right. And
I'll let you pick.
yeah, it's kind of funny, like, like you come from, like here, like our hometown and stuff. You start turkey hunting, not a lot of turkey hunters, right? People
Mm-hmm.
are starting to catch on, but like them hardcore turkey hunters, they're far and few between, right? And
Right.
and when you get and you think that you're a good turkey hunter, it's like being the football star of your home team, and
Yeah.
you're a football, and you think you're the greatest boy in the world, and you can throw a football halfway across the field, and your receiver's definitely going to catch it. You go and you play around in another state, and them boys will turn you upside down
Yeah.
because you're like, you had it, you've been had by that point. You know what I'm saying? Like them, they know what they're doing. Um, and you think you're the greatest thing in the world, and then you start heading south, and it's a whole different ball game.
Yeah.
It's a whole different ball game.
And it's right around Tennessee area, and I lived in North Georgia for a little while, and I think, I mean, the schools around there in the SEC, but it's a different breed of. I'm like, y'all ain't got it quite as bad around here. I'm like, this is kind of awesome. Y'all got some turkeys, and these guys are really nice about them. I can almost go hunt somebody else's private land, and I'm like, I wouldn't advise anybody to go knock on somebody's door in Mississippi to ask to go hunt turkeys, like just out of safety, maybe, I don't know. You just don't do that. You'd be better off asking to take your daughter out on a date. It's kind of like, I mean, you just don't do that around here. But up there, I made some friends. They're like, "Yeah, come hunt at my place." I'm like, "Why?" I'm like, "Hold on, where's the catch here?"
Hmm.
But it's just, I mean, kind of the same. Obviously, the same subspecies of turkeys between North Georgia and South Mississippi, but those who are hunting them are just wired a little differently. And there are folks up there who kind of cut from that same cloth as down here. I do remember meeting a few, and I'm like, okay, this guy's on the same page. But it's comical to an extent of how serious some folks take it, but it is what it is.
Hmm. Yeah, no, it's funny. Like going back on it, like Steve, he got bit by it pretty hard. Like there was a couple years there. We were talking with back and forth, and I've been an avid turkey hunter for quite some time. And Steve's like, "I'm not really a turkey hunter," and I'm like, "What do you mean you're not a turkey hunter?" "I'm not really a turkey hunter. I'm just going turkey hunting." And then next thing you know, he's traveling halfway across the country. I
Right.
said, "Bub, you got bit. Like you're a
Yep.
turkey hunter."
I know exactly when it happened too. I got a good buddy in South Georgia, and I used to tell him,
Mm-hmm.
"You said I'm not a turkey hunter. I hunted turkeys." And he's like, "You sure you ain't a turkey hunter?" And I'm like, "Nah, man. I just it's something to do in the spring. It's pass some time or whatever." And I think that I already killed two birds that one because we're five birds, and I had killed two, and I got hooked up on one on public land, and like everybody was on this bird trying to kill this one bird, and I went back in there next morning. I killed that bird, man. I was so proud that I was the one that killed it. And I called my buddy up in Georgia, and he's like, "Are you sure you're not a turkey hunter? Because you're starting to talk like a turkey hunter." And I'm like,
Yep.
"Yes, I'm a turkey hunter now."
Ain't no turning back.
And then the boys, he's Steve now is one of 50 to kill the first turkey in Canada, in New Brunswick, non-resident ever. Like,
Really,
Yeah,
that's cool.
yeah.
so like he ain't no turkey hunter though, Hunter. I'll tell you what, he ain't no
Yeah.
turkey hunter. I
Yep.
said you got bit hard. I says you going not even across state lines, but country lines to go and
Country
kill
line.
turkeys.
I do
You're a
want to. I
turkey
do want to
hunter.
hunt in Canada. I've never hunted up there. But I've made connections through the brand and everything, and not necessarily like come hunt with me connections, but I noticed when we first started, when I was filling the orders, I'm like, who's going to freaking Canada? Like, who lives in Canada hunting turkeys? And then, like, there's more going to Canada. There's, quite a few going to Canada now. If I pull up the demographics of, kind of our web traffic and stuff like that, a lot of folks in Canada, are buying our stuff on our site. And I'm like, must be some turkeys up there. And the more I look into it, there are, that'd be really cool.
What's cool about them, especially New Brunswick, because their turkey hunting season is fairly new. So last year was the first year ever for non-residents, but
Okay.
their resident turkey hunt's only been 3 or 4 years, I want to say. So everybody up there is a new turkey hunter. So
Cool.
like, when they think of turkeys, they're all like we were when we were 12, right? Like it's new, everything's exciting. They don't know what they're doing, like they're still learning. So like it's the complete opposite of Mississippi. Like
Yeah.
they're all like little kids in a candy store, you know.
Which I love folks like that, and that, like, I would much rather hunt with a novice to the nth degree, and I will learn more from them than I will if I went hunting with some old pro from McGee, Mississippi, because they're going to have stuff that I overlook so frequently, and they can break, the concept of woodsmanship down into terms of a 5-year-old. Whereas, like, if you were to ask me, I'm like, let me write a whole book on it. Like, there's just so many, parameters that goes into it. Whereas, like, somebody who's just like, let's just make his walk easy to get to us. I'm like, that's a great idea. Let's make path of least resistance. Let's do that. Let's make it not hard for the gobbler to approach us. It's just stuff that makes sense off the top of their head. Will just ding a light bulb in mine. I'm like, you know what? Let's not try to call him around this bush to come up, and he'll have to fly this creek here to get to us and everything. And let's just go to where he can, don't worry about the high ridge and stuff like that most turkeys take, and the rules of thumb that have just accumulated in my pockets. Just make it easy on the turkey to get to you. I'm like, okay, yeah, let's try that.
Well,
So
I think
sometimes the more you know, the more you overcomplicate it, and if and the more you are, you just simplify it, and you don't think about it. You just do it, and it works out. But the more you know, the more you think about, and you just beat your head off the side of a tree.
About 2 years ago, I made my mind up that that's what I was doing, and it was a problem. I was just analysis paralysis, and I'm very big on which tree you set up. I mean, 90% of the, if you're going to kill a turkey, it comes down to which tree you sit on, way more than, the cause or the time of day or the temperature and stuff like that, or how good you are at shooting or this or that, or even, I mean, camouflage is very important, but whether or not that tree has a shadow or not is way more important than the kind of camouflage you're wearing, and the direction you're facing. But yeah, I got a little lost in the sauce, so to speak, when it comes to just overanalyzing every step a turkey could possibly take. And I still do it. I think before I sit, my butt rarely hits the ground even. I'm knelt by a tree way more often than I'm sitting by a tree, just because I move so much and everything's depicted off of a turkey's move, which he hadn't made yet. So I never just really settle in that much. But I was like, you know what? I'm just going to put it into to novice terms as best I can in my head, and simplify it completely, and just go to the goblin turkey and try to get close to that turkey, and then try to talk him into coming a little closer. And that's kind of just 3 steps instead of just all this, game, which I don't have game plans anymore. I've thrown those out the window. I've learned better than to do that. Every move is just one step, and then I'm not worried about what I'm going to do after that. I don't know what I'm going to do after that. Just started saying, I don't know.
I think with the turkey, you can't make a game plan. When you start making game plans, he's going to make another game plan on you.
Right. And folks will ask me, especially when the first time, they're like, so what's your plan for in the morning? I'm like, man, show up is all I got. Like I'm not doing it. I don't care if I watch which limb he roosted on. I don't trust that he's going to be there. I mean, I just don't trust the turkey that much. That I've seen too much happen. It depends on how many times he gobbles, what time he gobbles, what the wind's doing, what the, how bright it is when he does gobble. Is the weatherman right or wrong, or is every little thing was there him with him? Which direction is he facing when the sun came up? I don't care what direction he was facing when the sun went down. There's so many things I don't burn my energy on. What are we going to do in the morning? I'm just going to get there and show up. That's all I got on my list.
What do you think your favorite state is to hunt?
Mississippi.
Which second favorite?
Yep.
Wow. Why is it that? Why Mississippi?
It is home, I guess, but and I've hunted, I don't know how many states. a good handful. And I've hunted a lot in the South, and turkeys are just a little different here. They're a little, you got something to them.
Are they harder to call at, like because they've been called at by some good old boys like that can really call, or they
Yeah.
really you really got to
Mhm.
put some work in them to make them happen.
You got to outwit them. Yeah, I mean, you can't try to outcall them because calling period is what everybody does. So I mean, especially public land down here, you almost got to have a run of good luck, and you got to really dive into the woodworks as far as woodsmanship goes. And you, beating the turkey is not necessarily that hard as beating the other turkey hunters. I mean, there's X
Mm.
amount of turkeys in Mississippi just as much as there is Alabama, Georgia, you know, all the way to the Carolinas and stuff, Tennessee even. There's just a whole lot of turkey hunters here, so they have your playbook and everybody else's playbook by the time their beard hits 9 inches. I mean, they've just seen it all. You're not really going to surprise them with anything or just come up with a game plan that's going to just outsmart the turkey. You're about not going to outsmart him. You got to outsmart the turkey hunters and be where the turkey wants to be more so than anything. And it's and like I've never have I hunted another turkey that, I mean, they'll just fly from limb to limb to come look at you and then fly back and then go back to gobbling. I mean, they just know to do that. They've seen so much.
What?
So,
I've
yeah,
never seen that.
oh, I've multiple times. You do 3 tree yelps instead of 2. They're like and they'll fly over and roost in the tree ahead of you and then fly back. They're like, nah. You're just like, well, damn.
What do
They
you
just
do? Just pack it up and go on home, or you try and cut around the other end? Like what is?
sit there for a little while and go, dadgummit. Like, I lost. That bird is smarter than I am. Um,
Wow.
um, and it's just that's what makes it so personal. That's why the culture's so rich here. It's just like, I hate to say the term "mad at them," but I mean they'll make you mad. And there's like, I don't write off anything. I don't believe a turkey will ever do anything. And I never say never or always. That's 2 things I kind of learned to admit that anything can happen. Which I've had some wild hunts in other places. I mean, one of the wilder hunts was in Tennessee, and but the hardest I've ever hunted was in Mississippi, and took 83 tries to kill him. And that I probably learned way more from that one than I could have in 10 years hunting another one though. Which that was over the course of a year and a half, I think. Um, but a lot of turkeys have been killed because of him. But it was,
Hmm.
and that was you remember the day you're like, I'm a turkey hunter. That was the day when I shot him. My family, my brother, who is a pretty bona fide turkey, my dad is a pretty bona fide turkey hunter. My brother, who also is, and my youngest brother, who is, they were out west somewhere, and I skipped the trip to keep hunting this turkey that had whipped my butt for a year and a half now. I quit jobs, lost relationships, moved. I'm not talking like just changing sense of deodorant superstition. I'm like changing lifestyles kind of completely because of this. They've got in my head so much. Um, but I mean, the woods were oddly quiet. The 5 minutes after I shot him, I'm like, the first time I've ever just felt like lifelessness in this woods, and it wasn't but 80 acres. And it was an odd feeling of what if like I don't come back here tomorrow morning. I've done this every day for just the spring's been open for 2 years, and I'm not going to be here in the morning. And I didn't go. I think I went back maybe 3 or 4 years after, just to revisit, and I was for some other purpose, to build a bridge over a creek or something like that for deer camp reasons or something like that. Um, but yeah, man, I just had no desire to ever go back.
What got them killed though?
Turkey foot shaped stick and dry leaves. No cause at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
you were close to him on the roost, and it just kind
That,
of
that where I
you
was
just
at
knew he
50
was
other
coming.
times.
Was
That where I was at 50 other times. He did what he's done 50 other times, 83 other times. Um, which it's a chapter in the book. I don't want to spoil too much, but he there's a reason actually of his nature. I never saw him not running. He ran everywhere, and he had characteristics that were individual to him, so I know which turkey it was. Um, and he was the last of 5 that started 3 or 4 years before, and the other 4 of which had been killed. So he'd seen 4 turkeys get killed on this little 80 acres, and this was like a rabbit patch of a place. It was just a thicket. By now, they cut it over, and it had grown back, and he, for some reason, still lived there. And yeah, he was tough. He knew every call I had. He expected me to be there by the end of it. I mean, he knew I'd be there. He beat me every single time. You know.
Wow.
Was there a lot of other pressure there, or was it just kind of you one-on-one? Yeah.
So a lot of
You
pressure.
were the pressure.
Only one guy.
Well,
You are the pressure. At 83 sits, you are the pressure.
that's crazy to hear, because that same bird I was talking about earlier, the one that turned me into a turkey hunter, that's what killed him too, was scratching in the leaves. And now this wasn't an 83 hunt turkey, this was a 2-day turkey, but there was so much other pressure. That bird would gobble at everything.
Mm-hmm.
But I heard every single guy on that ridge hit every call they had in their bag, and he would gobble and gobble, but he wasn't going to move.
Mm-hmm.
And I hit those leaves, and his head popped. And
See,
I just watched that.
It scratched with my hand, but he learns what my hand sounds like. So I had to get a different shaped stick to scratch the leaves. I mean, I went through I was running through every single. I'd changed turkey vest. I'd done everything you think of, and I missed him like 3 times. And I don't get the yips really. I mean, I've been there before. If I shoot at it, I expect to kill it, and when I see this one, I'm just like lose control of myself. I was probably 20 or so at the time, 19ish. But yeah, it was a wild ride. But I mean, I wouldn't trade that for anything. I got his of all the I got a big display, like it's not a display, it's just like a counter thing looking with all just piles of feet and beards and stuff that I can find, and his are separate. And that's one of the few that are separate.
He meant something. He was something special.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't. Spring Legion wouldn't be probably, and definitely probably not that book wouldn't be if it wasn't for that single longbeard.
That's crazy.
What's the name of these books for the people that are listening? Because you've referenced them a couple times.
The Ballad.
Ballad of Turkey Hunter.
And that's the first one?
That's the first one.
Yeah.
Second chapter is the one about that. Any given spring morning. And then this is actually, y'all can get the first look at this, because I picked this up about 30 minutes before I got on here. Copies of the combination copy of both. So that'll be. So the first 100 copies will get this dust jacket and stuff with stuff in it, and it'll be numbered. Going on sale at NWTF. 10% of these are going to go back into NWTF. And
you ain't going to be able to get within a mile of that booth on that weekend.
I don't know. I've done a very poor job of advertising it. I do that so badly. We'll release stuff and I'll forget, because that's stuff I worked on in June. So I'm just now picking it up, and I kind of forgot about it. I'm like, that's in 2 weeks. I should have probably let folks know a little more than this. But some folks would be pleasantly surprised to be getting a collector's piece. But I guess you got to show up to find out.
What made you want to become an author? Like, what triggered you to actually decide that you were going to write a book?
Let's see. I don't know.
Do you have a background in writing?
I am a big fan of Tom Kelly. He's the when I read 10th Legion for the first time, it was probably not long before I hunted that turkey I was telling y'all about. I was still in college, and found the 10th Legion. Somebody suggested I read it. I'd never heard of it before, and I've been a turkey hunter for a while then. And that's the first time. And my dad's a good turkey hunter, and he turkey hunts a lot, but I still didn't think he quite understood the obsession that was, kind of in my mentals about it. I'm like, never met somebody, and when I read 10th Legion, I'm like, that might be the only person in this world who I can quote unquote gets it. Like, I get it. And then I've met several since, just being from Mississippi, and it wasn't a talked about thing at all then. I mean, being a turkey hunter, now there's social media and stuff, find out that you're a turkey hunter, whether you like it or not. I'd already, still can't get into a deer camp because of it, but kind of omitted that by signing up to be a known person in turkey hunting. They don't let turkey hunters in a lot of deer camps down here.
Why is that?
You just don't. I wish I knew, but they're like, oh, like I'm talking to the degree, like my dad was a pretty good turkey hunter, and there's I've been told by grown men as a 15-year-old like that I cannot come hunt there because my dad was a turkey hunter and they're also turkey hunters. So like you just don't let somebody like that in to let them see your property, to let them know where a fence might be weak or something. You know, it's kind of I'm like, I want to go rabbit hunting with my buddy who's your son. Can I not do that? And they're just kind of like, I don't know. You know, it's weird. It's almost like I mean, it's a culture, but no, actually, I got COVID in 2020 and wrote Ballad of a Turkey Hunter in that 2 weeks, and just and accidentally published to Amazon like 3 weeks before I planned to. Somebody told me they just bought the book. I'm like, how'd you do that? And they're like, it's on Amazon. I looked and it's like a #1 bestseller, and I'm like, okay, cool, I guess. We'll see how this turns out. I wasn't really done with the editing side, but I guess y'all like it, you know.
I think some of the best things come like that, right? I
Yeah.
mean, like it is what it is. Your heart and soul got put into it. It don't need to be
Mm-hmm.
perfect.
Right. And
And
there's a lot of, and they've each gone through what I call a red pen edit, which I published them all. When I say like, I just made that book, it's almost like a document. Like I typed it on Word and had a ruler measuring like books that I had on my desk of like how many spaces to get to this margin. Like there's not really margins, there's just spaces in each sentence, and I counted the sentences and put that on a page. And I mean, you could almost you could probably tell a bunch of things that aren't official to it, but I do think that just adds a lot of character.
just a good old boy writing a book. What is wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that.
I had a lot to say, I guess. I don't know.
I have you ever hunted up in the Northeast, like up this way? We're in Connecticut.
No, not in the Northeast. That's kind of on my list for this year. Hopefully, I've said it 3 years in a row. Um, but I mean, I've hunted Virginia. That's about as northeast as I've gotten.
You gonna come out with a Virginia state hat? One of our buddies wanted to know.
Uh, I got a couple blanks Mike can work with. We got Virginia State decals,
Yeah.
but I was like,
Our good buddy Sean, he loves Spring Legion, and he's like, you better ask him if they're gonna come out with a Virginia State hat. We need one of them.
if we can get all 50, we're gonna get all 50. But we minimum order quantities and stuff. I'm like, y'all got to count the. I got to see what the ratio to turkey hunter to casual wearer, turkey wearer is in each state before I do that. Which some will surprise you. I mean, some of like our best. Like I didn't know people turkey hunt in South Carolina. I think there's more folks buy more orders from South Carolina than there are Mississippi.
Really?
You wouldn't think, yeah. Um, and and none of that's seersucker either. So
I think you're gonna find a lot more turkey hunters than you think when you start to make them in other states. Like you're gonna come across some
yeah,
serious.
and I've realized that big time, and I've had to alter some of my initial perceptions of turkey hunting culture that it does extend all from coast to coast, north to south. Um, just because folks are a little nicer with them up north doesn't mean they're not just as as big as you are when it comes to it. And I met a lot of good friendships. I had some buddies from Virginia, um, Ohio, West Virginia, Michigan. Um, a lot of good buddies from those states who are just as much. And like Pennsylvania is like on my bucket list. Like that's the when I think turkey hunting, I think either like South Mississippi or like Pennsylvania for some reason. I've never even stepped foot in Pennsylvania. I just feel like turkey hunters live in Pennsylvania though, just because.
I'll tell you what, you keep coming north and it gets a little wild. I'm telling you, the turkey hunting up here and the numbers are here as far as turkeys go, and
Mm-hmm.
the turkey hunters too. But I'll tell you what, like you get a good like yourself, like a big time turkey hunter, and you start coming up here, and you'd be pleasantly surprised what the turkey hunting is like. Like it's wild. Like you start to get in the mountains, the easterns in the mountains here, like it's a blast. Like it's
It's
a
hard to
great
beat.
time.
I've hunted easterns in the mountains, um, Blue Ridge foothills in North Georgia, and then trying to think of where else in West Virginia. Those were some
Mm.
cool turkeys. And Virginia was mountainish. It was a mountain by all means. It was Rocky Mountains to me. That was
Yeah.
the first time I actually like realized like, hey, you can't wear granges everywhere. You can't wear rubber boots just everywhere. You're going to have to get some hiking boots, buddy. That's when we like started making gaiters and stuff. I'm like, yeah, I get it now. But yeah, it's hard to beat that, dude. Even and I love swamps and the smell of mud and stagnant water and just like mean turkeys down here. But like those big fans up there and stuff, like that's a very close second if it ain't.
Yeah, you get them they start gobbling in the
Yeah.
morning in like in a holler, and it's a whole different type of gobble. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we had some buddies of ours come up and hunt with us and called in this bird through the hills, and it gets in the hardwoods and they start to holler, and it's a whole different gobble. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
don't even know it. Like, I didn't realize it until I started to travel around and hunt other places. Like, you start getting down like Maryland and stuff like that, and getting to them plantations, and you come back home and they're in them hardwoods and they gobble. It's a whole different type of gobble. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
don't even know how to describe it. Like, you can feel it through your bones. Like, I don't know. It's wild, and they interact so differently. Like, you
Mm-hmm.
like down south, them birds are like super precautious. You get up here, man. You holler at one and you start calling at one, and it does stupid things. Like, I don't even know what to say. Like, they
Yeah.
do stupid things. Like, I don't know, especially if you're a good turkey hunter, turkey caller, because up here, like, we call it the wild avian bird flu. Like, guy will come into the woods. We've had it happen a million times, and they're hitting the owl call, then it's the crow call, then the box call, then this, then that, and you're like,
The
you,
concoction.
you didn't even let it stop. Like,
Right.
yeah, like, you know what I'm saying? But if you have the art of it, and you have, say, a trumpet or a mouth call or whatever, and you like yourself and us, like, you really start to dig into it, they do just crazy things
Yeah.
up here because they ain't seen them. They ain't jumping from limb to limb to find you to look
Yeah.
at you. Like, that ain't a thing.
Yeah. It's and I enjoy, and I try to do Michigan last every year, and they're kind of that's when I first noticed. Virginia was the first time I noticed. There's two different types of easterns. I'm like, this is not a home bird. This thing's freaking huge. My gosh, because down here, like an 18-pound bird's big. Um,
That's our
and I'm like,
Jakes.
yeah, I'm like, dude, this thing is freaking massive. And my buddy Reeves is his name, who I found accidentally. Like we had some like giveaway, and I messaged the wrong Reeves, and he was like, "Well, I'm in Virginia. If you want to come hunting," and I was like, "All right, well, I'm passing through Tennessee, like with no pin dropped anywhere. I'm just headed north because it's closed here. Just gonna bump into one if I can find it." I was like, "All right," and I met him at 4 o'clock, and we went hunting. Good friends with him now. But he showed me some pictures, dude, and they had, I mean, just like wingspans out to here. And I'm like, dude, this is not the same. Like their heads are way different. Gobbles do sound way differently. Smells a lot different up there. I know that. It smells like a freaking Bath Body Works or something. Like, dude, it smells nice up here. When I hadn't gotten out of the truck in a long time. I'm like, dude, y'all got some conifers or something around here. It smells nice. It just smells like mud and kind of like Bourbon Street down the north south of the you can just smell the moisture in the air down here and up there. I'm like, I can breathe really good. I'm like, wait till we get up halfway up this mountain, see how well you can breathe. I'm like, yeah, I can't breathe that good anymore. That was a lot different too. But I really I've grown a um, very fond of hunting northeasterns, and I feel like it gets even better the more northeast you go, which I've kind of held off to make a good run at them because I know it's going to be pretty special when I do.
Yeah, and the thing too, just like Michigan, I mean, Maine in the Northeast here, that's open in June.
Mm-hmm.
We can hunt them into June, which is, it gets kind of hot that time of year, so you kind of want to be here like the last 2 weeks of May, right? But because June gets hot, I mean, I don't care. And the thing up there is we have black flies, so it gets a little crazy. Um, but you get like a mature public land bird deep in, and that thing will almost fall into your lap
Yeah.
because he's just ready to rock and roll. You know what I'm saying? Like, they just ain't never been messed with like that before, and it's fun.
And like I've noticed, like they communicate with gobbling. Down here, they gobble if they have to, and a lot of them don't have to. If they're roosted with the hens, they ain't gonna gobble. A lot of times, and you'll walk right on and bump them
Really?
all. Yeah, it's kind of the last line of defense. Like they'll gobble, and some will blow it out of the water. I mean, don't take everything with a grain of salt as
Mm-hmm.
far
Right,
as
of course.
nevers are always. Um, some of the easiest turkeys I've killed have been Mississippi and on public land. It's just very, very few and far between. Um, but a lot of times they just don't gobble,
We,
even on the roost. You know, we ran into a guy last year. I think he was trying to roost one in Mississippi. I'm like, I mean, I've been doing it a long time, and might have heard 3 or 4 gobble on the limb in the evening. Now they blew it out the water, but they just don't do it a lot, really. I don't, it's almost I don't think it's a predation thing. I think it's a lot of turkey hunters around here, like the ones who did are dead, kind of deal. The ones who got a lot are dead, have been dead, probably dead before the season started. We're gonna be honest.
Yeah, we use a lot of locators, especially like in the evening to roost for the night before. But it's more to just make them gobble, so you can get in the truck and head down the road and find as many as you can. But if you don't use a locator and you got all night, you just sit there on your tailgate. He's gonna gobble on his own for the most part. Yeah.
The other thing too, like we say it all the time, if we ain't on a bird like right off the rip and in a spot, we'll leave there and we'll go, like everybody else, we'll go hunt somewhere else, right? And we come in there and it's 9:30, 10 o'clock, and you just sit on a log somewhere on the top of a hill and one gobbles, he's gonna die. He's dead. I mean, he's dead to rights, bro. You call at him once, he's gonna gobble on his own. You called him once and he gobbles back. That bird is dead. Like, I don't care what you do, he is dead. Like,
next gobble, he's cutting that distance in half.
It's great.
I don't know.
It's fun.
Yep.
Do they do it down there in Mississippi or no? They're not like that.
No.
Steve, remind us never to go south anymore.
They can gobble 30 yards in front of you with no air and opportunity in front of you, and he ain't dead yet until he's on the ground. Until he stops flopping, I don't call him dead down here. Up there, I'm like, I know what you mean. Like that 9:30 gobble, I'm like, oh, he's willing to die right now. Down here, I'm like, he can gobble 50 times right in front of me. I'm like, I don't care till I see him, till I've shot at him, because he knows what a click of a safety sounds like. I'm over here just trying to ease mine. Do not let him hear that. I've had him bump before. I've been hunting with somebody. My youngest brother did it one time, and I about lost. And I just had learned, don't click your safety, And he hadn't. He's 11 years younger, but he went, and that turkey didn't even putt. He went, nope, out of there. And I'm like, don't ever do that again. You just slide it over.
Wow.
I struggle with that all the time, especially as a deer hunter, right? Like, I love a good tough turkey, like a couple day hunt on the same bird and making moves and playing that whole checkmate thing. And like, it's so rewarding when you finally kill them. But at the same time, I love a dumb 2-year-old that just screaming, and it's like, I can't pick one or the other. I need a heavy mix of both.
Dude, people think like, oh, he probably would rather hunt public land. And like, I'm like, no. Do you have private land? If you have a turkey that's never been hunted, a 2-year-old, like a group of them maybe,
Yeah.
I'll say that 10 times. Give me that one, please. Like, I don't choose this. I'm just poor and live in Mississippi and don't have anywhere to hunt. I've gotten to be decent at turkey hunting because of that, but it's not by choice, bud. I promise. It's not preference.
Yeah, it's good to have a little mix. You got to, but you need a couple of them easy ones just to make.
Yeah, I will take all of them.
See, I'm good at this. I'm good at this.
That's why you lie. You're like, no, I don't know what I'm doing, man. I can just come. I tag along with you in the morning. Why are you sitting behind me, face the other way? I'm like, I don't just felt like I think he might come up this way.
I don't know. I don't really turkey hunt. You wanted me to sit next to you?
I just had a feeling he was going to take this ridge and not the one you think he's really going to come down. I know he's not coming down.
But you ain't going to have a shot at him, so let me just sit on over here.
I might as well just turn this way.
Yeah.
I've seen turkeys do some wild things, dude. But there's tendencies. I say that a lot. There's tendencies that turkeys, if there's higher ground to get, he's going to get it. And then, I don't use decoys, never have. And it just messes stuff up. There's stuff that you do call-wise, and it has nothing to do with how good you are at calling. A lot of folks get that misconstrued that you got to be good at calling. It doesn't hurt by all means to sound more like a turkey than another guy, but a lot of it is what you're saying, not how you're saying it. The intensity is big as far as volume and abruptness and wind, but it's all a matter of time and when it comes to calling.
What's your reason for no decoys? Is just
you stole the words out of my mouth, Steve.
Or because I don't like decoys either. I've killed
Me neither.
one bird over a decoy, and it was different, but like I can't stand them. I'd much rather not have them.
I mean, there's chapter on that. But originally it was a culture thing. It was just,
Right.
you don't hang out with that crowd. You don't go like, what if someone rides by and sees me in your truck and you have a decoy back there? Like, what are they going to think of me? And my dad's going to beat me when I get home. Like, you got to use a decoy. And like, the older I got, I realized that wasn't as much. There wasn't much truth to that notion. But because of the style of turkey hunting, I broke it down into, you're either pursuing this turkey, or you're trying to cut this distance by his curiosity or persuading him to come to you. And a lot of folks who hunt with decoys, I've learned, are more so just persuading a gobbler to take their situation over a current situation. They're trying to just, they want, trying to talk it up and say, it's better over here. As whereas if I shoot a turkey, it's curiosity killed him way more than persuasion did. It was a matter of him coming to look and see. He's not going to be strutting. He's not going to be in the open. His head's going to pop up where you least expect it, and you're going to shoot him because he's trying to see what happened. Where did that hen go? Or what is this I hear? Is that a hen or a gobbler? Stuff like that. And that's just how I hunt. And, you stake a decoy up 35 yards in front of me, it cures his curiosity. He doesn't have to do that anymore, and I'm not going to kill him. So, they're loud and annoying. Also, I don't like that part of decoys, but yeah, it kind of kills the whole point of me going turkey hunting is to generate this curiosity within him, and that's just the chess I like to play. And that's what I think of as turkey hunting is who can outwit the other one instead of like who can persuade the other one.
And it's definitely that's one of the things with decoys up here is like every field that you go into, if there's a turkey, right? Like we hunt the woods more than anything. We don't hunt the fields. Like never. You ain't barely ever
We don't
gonna
really
see
even
us in a
have
field.
field.
What?
We don't even really have fields here,
Us
so it's kind
neither.
of gone.
That's for them white collar guys that have private land. Like they are the
They
ones that
made
have
that
field.
field,
Yeah.
or they paid somebody to make that field for them, but it wasn't just there. It's
No.
all woods.
But every field that has a turkey in it has a decoy in it, and that bird has seen a decoy 1,000,001 times. And the only time, we use decoys sometimes, a lot of the times with youth, right?
Mhm.
Because then you can get them.
Takes your
But
eyes off.
I'm not even using it where he can see it. Like
Mhm.
he can't even see it. Like you're hunting up a ridge, right? And that bird's gonna come over the top of that ridge, and he's gonna see that decoy, and then it's a different reaction, right?
Right.
Like it's not even using it for the purpose that most people would use it for. It's just a center point for that bird to come to so that that youth can shoot him, right? So it's a little bit more relaxed instead of him just popping up. But I find a lot of the times it can make or break a hunt. Like as far as
Mm.
if he can see him from 50, 60 yards, that thing's going to lock up almost instantly
Yeah.
and he's never going to end up coming in. I don't know. I want them to hunt me. They know where I'm
Mm.
at, right? Like why would you hunt him with a decoy? I don't know. Maybe
Hunter, I almost missed my Canada bird because of a decoy.
Really?
Yeah, I was field hunting. I don't hunt fields, right? But when in Rome, do it like the Romans, right? So I'm like, well, I'm self filming in Canada, so I'm like, I'll take decoys, I'll put them in the field, perfect. I won't even have to move the camera. Just point it at the decoy, hit record, bird comes in, you'll know he'll be in frame, boom. Well, like you said, I'm used to woods birds, and they
Mm-hmm.
come in, and what do? They stop and they stick their head up and look.
Mm-hmm.
They start coming, and they stop, pick their head up. Next time he picks his head up, he's dead, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dude, that bird came in, and I'm like, I'm gonna let him touch the decoy. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna let him come fully commit. I'm gonna let him touch the decoy. I didn't expect him to act like a crackhead when he got to it.
Oh God.
He's head bobbing and doing this, and I'm like, tension on the trigger. No, wait. Oh no, yes. And man, that bird, and I almost whiffed him, man. And it's like
I can see
that
how,
is
dude.
not that is not the same shot presentation as
Yeah.
a bird coming through the woods.
Yeah. No, I can understand, dude. It's and that's and there's and geographically there's not a lot of places we hunt that they can see further than 40 yards.
Mm.
So it's just a matter of that. But if you put that out there, he's going to stop at 80, and he ain't budging. He don't have to, and eventually it's going to start looking really odd. And then you eliminate the chance of creating curiosity at that point, because if you move back or call down this bridge or something like that, like he doesn't wonder where you at, and he thinks he's looking at you. You know, as long as he can keep it, and turkeys will keep tabs too. I mean, if they can have the cake and eat it too, they're going to do it. And they'll, especially the older ones, they'll hang back with the hens, and they can keep it as long as you'll keep calling. You know, he's good. He only gets a little, frustrated, or not frustrated necessarily, but um, catch his attention when you stop. You know, and if you stop calling, he's already seen that decoy. I just don't see him, which I don't use. So this is a call kind of theory at the same time. But I don't call if he's close, almost, because of the same reason. So it just doesn't make sense to put a visual out there if he's close enough to see it. I wouldn't call when he's that close. I want him to be looking. Um, Anything's going to cure that curiosity. I try to stay away from. Even walking, I've almost just shuffled feet before because I've had one gobble at my feet thinking it was turkeys, and it screwed me. They hung up. They knew where I was at, and I was trying to get to another spot to where they would have to come around something. And they heard there was no other way to walk, and I was like, "Do I get on all fours?" So every time I'd stop, and I'd start walking again. They get the hammer again. They're thinking I was a hen I called 200 yards ago, and if I'd known they were there, I wouldn't have. But they assumed I was turkey. There was no. I started shuffling my feet as much as I could, and they thought that was more turkeys, and they started hammering again. But I couldn't get where I wanted to get because that would be unnatural for me to do. A turkey wouldn't do that. So I sat there and listened to them gobble 200,000. I was up north, listened to them gobble for 200 times. It was fun. Went back and killed them this past spring. Same. I don't know if the same two. At least one of them was the same. Very, very pretty convinced just because of the shape of his tail fan. It was one of those that had like a diamond tail fan, which I didn't know was a thing. I've never seen one down here. I saw two last spring. One I thought was a Jake. My wife actually killed it, and if you look at some forums and stuff, they just call them like diamonds or something like that. It's just his is up there. I don't know if you can see it. Okay, but it almost looks like a Jake. And this one, it just a slight little point at the middle three.
I have seen them before, actually, because I had one come in before the same thing, and it would kind of look like a Jake. Like he had the. It's just two feathers though that are up instead
Right.
of three, right? Like, and it just kind of. I know what you're talking about.
And it's,
Yeah,
it's
I
just
killed one like that.
little odd, it just kind
Hmm.
of floats down. It's not like a squared off. But the one she killed had like 11 and a half inch beard. It was an old turkey. Just his head was huge and just wrinkles everywhere and just weathered. Um, but it was, I don't know if it's an old thing or is always that way. But the turkey, I got to sit there and watch strut for 2 hours, which was cool. And gobble his head off at 70 probably. There's nothing I could do. Shot him in the exact same spot he was standing the next year. Came back, and that's like all I thought about the whole drive up there, which was like 13 hours. I'm like, I wonder if he's there. I wonder if he's there. I wonder if he's there. I've thought about this for 9 months. Is that turkey still there? I hope nobody shot him. I don't take any of it for granted. I'm like, man, if that turkey's still there. And I'm just like November. I'm like, let me check the weather up there and make sure they're all right. Kind of. There's snowstorms coming through, up there.
You don't got no beard drought or anything like that.
I don't even care. Just like
As long as he gobbles.
yeah, I don't even care if it's not him. If another turkey's there, I'm cool with that. Just but no, I went back, did the same thing, and by God, I was sitting where I could. I wanted to get that other time, and I didn't take the same route. My brother's with me this time. We went through a little ravine, which I try to find if I'm trying to gang around silently. It's the lowest point, and even there's ditches in a ditch. If a ditch coming down, there's a ditch going to that ditch. You find those. A lot of times the leaves are washed out. If nothing more, they're wet, and they're not going to make a lot of noise. So, I try to travel up. If I'm trying to gain elevation, I'll try to do that until I get to the top and can make more moves. And that's what I would have done and wasn't able to. And then that's what we did this past year, and it worked to a T. He did the same exact thing, too.
They're so predictable sometimes, huh? Like as far as that goes, like they're gonna move within that. Like it's crazy because I don't think about it like that. Like you go and you hunt that bird, but like it seems as if like for you and growing up in the South, you kind of think about that because you're hunting that same bird religiously, time after time after time to try and to kill him again. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah. And I think that is a scarcity aspect in the ratio of turkey hunters. Like if you know of a goblin turkey, you quit your job if you didn't kill him. Like if you really have to. I mean, there's nothing comes in the like. You just get so obsessed over it, and I'm not gonna say it's so rare to get on one. Our population's not just diminished, but it's the fact of knowing that another public or private. This ain't just for public. Somebody else is probably hunting him if you do go to work tomorrow and you left him gobbling and you made him gobble way too many times for someone else not to have heard it.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of, and it just obsesses you. Gets under your skin, and that's kind of where the obsession is driven, and you'll wind up kind of screwing yourself hunting the same bird. He'll learn you just as quick as you learn him. Don't think it's a one-way street, and that makes him very difficult to hunt. And then when Joe Blow does try to go hunt him, he's like, "Daggone, you can keep this one,"
If you
Well,
go to work in the morning, you're at least driving by to see if there's
Oh,
another
yeah.
turkey there for sure.
Some jobs are worth it.
Well,
They'll hire you, replace you by tomorrow.
well,
You
you
ain't
got to
going for it.
remember too, Mississippi don't got no fence lines. If it's gobbling, it's on your property. So
It's a culture. It's which I
love
hate. I hate it's that way, but it's not incorrect.
I know. I just
Which
joke
we
around.
tried
with
to steer away because it almost became a sport for a little while, and I think that's kind of ran its course. Where folks just hunting wasn't good enough; they wanted to poach them and stuff, and I'm like, yeah, it seems pretty easy if you could just go hunt anybody's land. At that time, if you're not good enough to hunt them on public, that's one thing, but at the same time, hunt the same one on your own private and see, that's way more of a medallion than I think than illegally taking one that probably hadn't been hunted by some old man who just, an untested bird completely, if I had to guess, stop, beat my chest over it at least, kind of deal. It's not that big of a deal. But yeah, that kind of ran its course. I had a little phase there for a minute.
But it keeps it fun, right? Like if you kill a 150-inch whitetail at night with a flashlight, it's not as good as tricking him in a deer
Yeah,
stand. Like it
exactly.
don't mean nothing when you look at him on the wall. If you jumped old John's fence, it ain't that cool. I killed him, yeah, big deal, but I didn't make him do what I wanted to do. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? Like anybody can kill him, right? But if you can kill him the right way, that's what makes it
Oh yeah,
worth it.
you can kill them with a mirror if you want to. Put a mirror in a field and they'll run up to it and try to beat up the mirror. You can grab them, strangle them. I mean,
Yeah.
you can kill them however you want to. Hit them with a car. Shoot them with a rifle if you really want to. But
Right.
it's not fun. To me, you didn't accomplish much. A game wasn't necessarily played then. I don't know. Can't win something that wasn't played, I guess. We can go buy them at the store if you really want to eat turkey.
Yeah, exactly.
Keep your job.
Yeah, exactly.
Hunter, do you
Well,
have an opinion on tungsten loads?
What's that?
Do you have an opinion on TSS?
Yeah, I think it's a good deal.
Yeah.
I think it's in the hands of the guy shooting it, pretty much the intentions of. Anything that can, more ethically kill the bird, I think is good. And saying that I hunt generally in areas where you can't shoot over 40 if you shot a cannon. So, but folks who, and I remember the first time hearing folks bragging about shooting very far with tungsten, I'm like, I used to respect you a little bit, now none. They're the same guys who used to ride down rivers in Kentucky and shoot 15 of them. I'm just like, that's just collecting. That's not hunting them. Shoot them out of trees, everything. There's a stereotype to that aspect too in the culture too. Is those how they do one thing, they do everything. They don't. They've had 4 wives. They just don't. They don't have it together. They don't see big pictures well. But yeah, I think anything that makes it more lethal, and even as bad as I hate to say it, that guy would probably attempted it regardless and just wounded turkeys left and right. Doesn't care if that makes sense. The guy who shoots them at however far they'll shoot. But I'll say this: when I was younger, I killed one at 64 steps and one at 58 steps with a brown gold and number 4s from a truck console. So you can do it, however. Because I did it one time. I had no idea what I was doing. I just let it rip, let freedom ring, and I'll be daggone. I was like, Then I tried it like 2 more times. Like, okay, this you can't really. I literally just one BB got lucky, and I stopped doing that. But at the same time, like I'm there to kill turkeys. I'm not like some folks won't shoot them if they ain't gobbling, and they want them to strut and come in and soak it in. I'm like, well, you let him stick his head up over that brush pile. Like as soon as I see it, it's not a Jake, it's gone.
Yeah.
Like, I'm waiting around. I don't need a show. Like I've got enough. I'm here for the adrenaline rush of the heartbeat and stuff like that. And because I can't physically make my body go somewhere else, I'm bound to this experience more so than anything. I'm bound to the chance of experiencing this. You know, when I can see him, it's concluded at that point. The battle is done.
That comes back to not trusting them. If you
Yeah.
got a shot, you should end this game right now.
Can't no style points. I'm not. No, like I don't. I've seen too much happen. Just because he walks to that tree, don't mean he'll ever walk out from the other side. And I had that happen to this year, and I knew better. And I wasn't trying to. I just watched it happen. And I went, how does this happen? Happened to Chase, my brother, for the first time. He said, I've never in my life. I'm like, he didn't come out from the other side of the tree, did he? He said, He was walking right to me and got up to a tree this big and never came out on the other side. I said, they'll do that.
They'll do that. They know that tree's there.
He
Hunter,
knew you were there way before then. He just waited till he got to that tree.
he knew he was safe. He knew
Yep.
that tree was there. He
Yeah,
knew what was
dude.
going on.
If he acted suspicious, you'd have shot him at 60. You'd
That's
at least
right.
pull the trigger, but no, he's going to act cool, calm, collected all the way to 42. And that's where he hits that one tree and never comes out on the other side and walks directly backwards, keeps it between you and him. And I just don't trust him, dude.
Sometimes you can't play with your food, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hunter, I do got one last question for you, man. I know we're gonna cut this one off, but we want to know, man, what drives you outdoors?
Whatever that sickness is, that obsession is that I told you about at the beginning that I kind of wish I didn't have some days, most days. It's one of those have to, I can't. I've tried not going and not doing. I don't think I would be able to keep my sanity. It's 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 hard to put into words, really. Turkey hunting specifically, outdoors in general, I enjoy it. There's a connection there to nature and to heritage and to folks who've done it before us. And then I think it is really cool, especially something as vocal as the turkey, that our kind of mantra, our tagline on everything is just not subject to change. That folks who I'll never get to meet that were in my family tree hunted the turkeys and felt the same feelings. The turkey sounded the exact same. He strutted the exact same. They were probably just as fascinated with the iridescence and the spurs and stuff and the way a turkey's feet feels and stuff, just like I am. That none of that changes in time, and I think that's really cool. You can't say that about cards. You can't say that about entertainment. Really, sports evolve by the minute. Hunting is one of the few things that now what goes along with you will change. And I do try to keep it very simple and stuff. No gadgets if I can help it. I'm not a fan of that. You're starting to buy turkeys instead of hunt them to a degree. But the actual, you hunt them like they've always hunted them. It's a pretty cool feeling, even if regardless if you kill one, just that you're doing something that someone in your family tree or someone in these same woods, related or not, you're kind of related to them. You heard the same things they heard. You felt the same feelings they felt, and saw the same things they saw, and they just as intrigued by this whippoorwill as you were. That none of that changed. So it's kind of the one constant in the world, I think, in which we live.
Absolutely. No,
Awesome.
that is awesome. It's the truth. I love it. Hunter, can you let everybody know where they can find your book, where they can follow along with Spring Legion?
Springlegion.com. You're going to have everything you need at Spring Legion across all social medias. And then the book, you can get it on Amazon. Unsigned copies are on Amazon. A Battle of a Turkey Hunter and Any Given Spring Morning. And then this combination copy will go live February 13th once we release it at the booth at NWTF convention. So swing by, we'll sign them. Signed copies are at the website as well as all the new jackets, pants, gaiters, hats, masks, gloves, you name it. Anything to do with turkey hunting is there. Links to podcast and YouTube as well.
Hunter, it's been a blessing to have you on, man. It was good to kick it back with you and talk
And
to you about turkey hunting in January. I know
yeah,
we,
this is the
daggone
first
it.
guest podcast I've been on in 2025. So I've been like, I'm pumped. You know, it's kind of means it's here. It's not
That's right.
far.
Well, I'm glad that it was here because we all ate up with it. We're ready to rock and roll. We don't get to kick off here until your season's just about over. We
Right.
don't start until April 28th, but um, we appreciate you jumping on, man, and everybody else coming to listen. Make sure to go check out Hunter at Spring Legion. If you're at the NWTF show, stop in, say hello, say you heard him here on the Outdoor Drive. And for everybody else, thanks for taking the ride right here on the Outdoor Drive.